War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we sit down, we get together, we talk about what's going on in the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay, whether you're watching here on YouTube, on Facebook, or Twitter, or you're a fan of another persuasion just wanting to see what the Aubies are talking about. We are here for you to talk about all of those things and more. So we appreciate you being here with your so hard and very valued time to spend some time with us. On tonight's live stream, as is the case with each of our Wednesday night live streams that we've been doing at 8 o'clock for a long time, just opening up the airwaves for you, your comments, your questions, but hopefully your calls as well to talk about what you want to talk about in terms of Auburn things. Now, I have a topic prepared as I always do. It's in the middle of spring practice. We're in week 3 right now. So I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of conversations centered around that. And that's probably where we'll start tonight, barring any other interest to start elsewhere. So that's what you can expect the conversation to kind of range around tonight. But basketball's on the table. Softball just got off a good win as well. That's on the table. It's all free and fair game here on this show, and we appreciate you being a part of it tonight. A couple of things that I need you to do for me as you jump into the stream, even watching on the replay. If you enjoy this type of content, please do make sure that you smash that like button. It does help the stream out. And if you can right now, post in the chat where you're watching from, city, state, international, all of that stuff, so we know who's watching with us, and a War Eagle never hurts as well. That's what we want you to do right now. And as I said, it is a call-in show. What we're going to do now is open up the phone lines. There is it should be pinned at the top. If it's not, I will share it throughout the several times tonight, but I think it is pinned up there. A call-in link. If you'd like to take part in that, you can click that link. It'll send you over here. You can choose to have your camera on or off. It can just be audio. We want to hear from you and your thoughts. We've already had some people pop in and say that they will probably say hello tonight at some point during the live stream. So I've shared it once again. A lot of people are already checking in. War Eagle from High Fly, Dusty from Pensacola checking in. Thank you so much for being here. Dusty's one of our regulars here. Good to see a lot of familiar faces here in the stream tonight. So what's on everybody's mind? What is the main topic that you want to discuss? Don't hesitate. Drop it in there now, especially anything that is spring football related. Would love to know where your head is at. It's interesting. We are kind of sitting finally in what I will call a somewhat peaceful period for Auburn athletics, meaning there's not a whole lot of going on. It picked up a little bit with some spring football news, some transfers and things like that started to come through last week. Basketball is done with, and then baseball and softball are just kind of getting into conference play. So there's some other things there as well to get involved with, but there hasn't been a lot of stuff. We're all sitting waiting on Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler to decide if they're going to, what they're going to do with their futures. So those are some of the things that I know that people are waiting on, but we're in just kind of a waiting lull period before things start picking up. And next week, when A-Day gets here, things are going to definitely start picking up. Rob from Valdosta, thanks for checking in, Rob. Appreciate you being here and hanging out with us tonight. So I will go ahead and take this opportunity, since I brought up spring game A-Day a little bit. I want to make sure that I remind you all that I will be on campus for A-Day weekend. I always encourage everybody to check in. We got a lot of people now checking in. Good to see you, Linda, Devin from Texas, and then Neil, who's not too far from me, somewhere off in that distance. East Cobb Snob. A lot of a lot of people checking in now. I will be on campus, and my hope is to put together some sort of meetup. A lot of you have asked about this. Nothing really significant. I just want to set a time and a place. I've been talking to with some of our booster club members. There's some interest there. Want to just meet up on campus, probably at 11 o'clock Central Time, right before, about 2 hours before the spring game, because I know everybody want to go in and get seats. Maybe just meet up somewhere that's, like a lunch spot or something like that, just to say hello, shake some hands, hugs if you want them, I guess. So I'm not super shy. I'll give out hugs too. But if you want to do that, if you want to let me know. if that's something that you want to know the details of and things like that, we'll probably post some of that. But would love to meet some of you in person on the loveliest village on the plains, because it's going to be a great weekend filled with Auburn football, filled with all kinds of good stuff. Baseball is going to be in town. I'm super excited. A-Day weekend is one of the best chances that you can get to experience the whole of the Auburn experience, as David Housel said it best. And that's what we're all about here on this channel, the whole of the Auburn experience. We obviously talk a lot about sports and focus a lot on the big ones, football, and basketball, and of course, baseball and softball too. But more and more other sports are starting to become the big ones, so to speak, the ones that everyone wants to pay attention to. Gymnastics, equestrian, SEC champions, by the way. That happened since we last got together on the Wednesday night show. I'll tell you something else that I've kind of missed, and I've realized that tonight. I was, during basketball season, we were doing these live streams after every game. And, that was at some points in the season, 3 times a week. And then you add these live shows in there too. I was like, man, that's a lot of live streams. And I realized this week, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying about, not having a ton of news, really big news to talk about right now. I was like, wow, I kind of miss these guys. I miss talking to you. Dusty says that reports are Ingram stepping up at running back. I want to say something on top of this, Dusty. And for reference for everybody who's not aware of what he's talking about, Jordan Ingram, I believe. Yes, I think I got his name right. Is a running back for Auburn, and one of the big storylines last week was that Jarquez Hunter, and we kind of addressed it at the beginning of this week on this channel, got hurt and is going to be out till the fall, effectively. And it's not really a big ordeal because Tank seems fine, and we're pretty excited about the backs that we have back there. I go to some of these websites, I bounce around a lot. I like to get a smattering of information. And some people don't even list Jordan Ingram in the depth chart. And yet he's, by all reports from practice, he's rising up the charts, as you just said, stepping up at running back. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the case where a guy that not a lot of people are expecting is starting to make waves, starting to make the best of their opportunities. And this is one of those times where, you've got an established number one, right? Tank Bigsby. You've got an established number 2 in Jarquez Hunter. Who wants to be the guy? Because, 1 and 2, they typically get used, about 80, well, I would say not 80%, because that would mean you only see 20% of Jarquez Hunter, but they get used a lot together, with obviously your number 1 back being the main one. There's going to be that other guy that comes in special situations if someone gets hurt in this scenario. So who's that going to be? Is it going to be a Jordan Ingram? Is it going to be a Damari Alston, new running back coming in this class? Is it going to be Sean Jackson, I think his name is, part of that? I think that's the correct name that I have. We are very much good at running back right now, so that the injury doesn't hurt us as much. Dusty says, wait, Jarquez is out for all season. No, if I said that, let me correct that. He should be back in the fall. He's the timelines, depending on who you subscribe to, who you follow, say, what is it? 8 to 10 months. I saw 2 to 3 or 8 to 10 months. Wow, that would be all year. 8 to 10 weeks, 2 to 3 months. Effectively, that removes you from most of the summer. So you'll be out, essentially till fall is really what it'll be. So he's not out. Neil clarifying there a little bit there too. Neil, wish I could go to A-Day, but I have my son's baseball team to coach. My son is pitching, and I'd love for him to get better so he can someday play at Auburn. Well, I'll tell you this much, and I don't think our pitching is horrible, but I think that's definitely the weaker spot of the baseball team right now, especially not necessarily bullpen. We seem to be lacking an ace from my understanding and watching and getting back into it again this season. We don't have a Tanner Burns, a Casey Mize. So maybe he can be. Maybe he can be, one of those types someday. I know that's probably a long way off, but sad you can't be there. But of course, family comes first. I guess the Auburn family comes second. But hopefully you can live vicariously through us. We're going to be on campus sharing all the, posts that we can from there. Probably can't live stream from the, usually they frown upon that from the actual practice, but I'd just say stay tuned. Neil says, my son has an arm projected 6'5". Now, let me tell you something about this. I hope those projections follow through for him. I was projected, and it hurt me so bad. My dream was to play basketball for Auburn. I played 1 year. I was on the team 1 year at Auburn Montgomery. Didn't play. I was a walk-on. But that was my dream at one point, was to play for the basketball team. And my doctor, when you're going to, your regular checkups at that age, they're projecting your growth rate and all that kind of stuff. And my doctor told me that I was going to be 6'4". I was so happy because it put me in kind of a sweet spot where you're a bigger guard. You don't necessarily have to be the point guard, because I'm not a good point guard. I'm a shooting guard, swingman type. It was the perfect thing for me. I capped out at 6 foot, and I'm still there to this day. So I say that as a word of caution. Those are just projections, but I hope that he gets whatever he wants out of that. And I hope he ends up at Auburn as a baseball player, because then we could be talking about you and your son someday. Interesting thing I discovered, this is not even Auburn related. I didn't know that Reese Davis, the ESPN commentator, had a son playing baseball at Duke. Did y'all know that? It's not important how I figured that out, but in a weird circumstance, I figured that out, which is really interesting. Yes, I capped out at 6 foot. Yes. I know it doesn't come across here, but I am unfortunately very short. Not very short. Excuse me. That would not be very short. That's about average. But I really had wished I could have been there, because at my height, at my build, you really need to be a really good ball handler, and I'm not. So, and I've also said that too, that my mentality is that of a big man too, in basketball terms. And it's not very well suited for the type of guard that people usually put me at. Neil says, I have several family members that played sports at Auburn, football and baseball, big sports family. Good. Everybody should be. I'm just kidding. Nobody has to be a sports family, but it obviously endears us towards you. I just saw this. Our first inning pitching has been Dookie soup. They seem to settle down the time after that. I would agree with that. That's been the trend that I've watched. That's what happened last game. Carson Skippers had some decent outings. I think was it last game or the game before that, got rocked a little bit. Our offense typically can keep up with some of the deficiencies that we seem to have at pitching, but not last night. Jacksonville State came in and beat us while we were touring the World Series Braves trophy there. It's a little embarrassing. It's a little embarrassing. I think it's the first time we've dropped a midweek game this season, where in typical past seasons, I remember we dropped those like almost every other weekend. So that's a good sign. It's a good sign. Devin says, been hearing that the atmosphere in the locker room has been better during spring ball, which is encouraging. That's a great point to bring up, Devin. And, is it a function of Coach Harsin changing his ways? Is it a function of people that needed to leave the program left? Is it a function of just time? I would say it's a little bit of all those things, right? There's no one thing that fixed Auburn and their on the field or off the field issues. It was just a transition. It's a regime change. Things take time. Things get bumpy. And yeah, I would expect those type of morale stories to start coming out a little bit. Now you see them. I think is it the gritty or Gertie or whatever you call it? I'm so old. That the kids are doing now that Coach Harsin was out there doing. They apparently went and played paintball together. To be fair, everybody, they did these type of things. Even Coach Malzahn, Coach Chiswick, they all did these type of things. We're just now with the hyper-focused nature that is social media, which admittedly I contribute to. We're just more aware of it now. So it seems like this ex-coach is doing this Y more of things. It's not necessarily the case. Rusty, I just saw this other comment. Let me get to his question first. Which player are you looking forward to seeing play this year? Oh, well, which sport? And which I would assume based off the title you probably saw when you came in here, you're talking about football. Looking forward to, the easy answer, and I wouldn't call it looking forward to, I'm just hoping, is the offensive line, and that's not really a player. Who am I most looking forward to seeing play this year, and probably an A-Day? I really want to see someone step up alongside Shedrick Jackson. So is that a Javaris Johnson, Tavares Dawson? Talk, Kyle. Is it a Landon King at tight end technically, or being utilized in the slot? But whoever that player is that steps up alongside Shed, because he's going to be the Cody Burns type. We debate it all you want. The best reliable wide receiver that you have left. You need somebody opposite of him. So I think that. And someone asked, what are the odds we could get a Rusty live stream would have a Rusty and a Dusty? Yes. If a guy can come in and yell War Dustbuster or say some inappropriate things with a grandfather and a Dustbuster, we can get a Rusty and a Dusty on a podcast. We just left too many men on base. P.S. Has anyone watched the tourney game since, or am I just salty? And yes, you are salty, I think. I have. I love March Madness. Now, I will tell you that my enthusiasm went really down after Auburn lost for the March Madness, but these were still minus like 2 games, really good games. There's really good basketball being played. I am starting to get excited about that North Carolina Duke matchup. I have a stinking suspicion we're probably going to see a Kansas North Carolina championship game, just kind of the way it feels to me. I'm really digging Hubert Davis, the first-year head coach for North Carolina. Kind of watched some interviews with him this weekend, and I like the dude. I like the dude a lot. Devin, it's cool to see Harsin out in the field doing that type of stuff. Also running drills with the guys. I know our coaches do that, but it's cool to see our coach do that. Great point. Yeah. And that's the great thing, that now that especially programs, high profile programs, are embracing the social media. They're giving new ways to connect with the team. And think about it this way. For the longest time, it was always reporters, beat writers that were your only outlet to them. Now you've got just their social media team that's able to give you those insights, to talk about those things, to give you, clips of the people that they had come speak. We're in an era that we've never had before of accessibility to the team to some degree, right? And that's not true accessibility like the media have, but we get to see them in different lights than we never had before. It's really refreshing. It is when it's going well. Harsin did mention the pandemic restrictions prevented a lot of that type of stuff last year. So there's that aspect as well. Great point. Yes. I think we're all good on that front. Now, they have not announced normally what happens on A-Day, they play the game and then they do an autograph session. They haven't announced anything like that. I don't see any reason why, based on how things are trending and how the situation seems to be at this moment, that they can't do that again. But, we'll just have to wait and see. I hope so, because it used to be my goal every year, and you can't see them. Well, you can kind of see them right now. Some footballs signed back there. I'd go get one signed from one player every year. It was my tradition. And I do that sometimes now, but really for me, I just like to walk down there and take a video to give you guys a perspective of what it was like down there for who couldn't be there. It's really fun. Let's see here. They thought of UNC and playing Duke. Oh, man. Let's see. Duke will win because Coach K. It's all rigged. Listen, I know. I know. Trust me, I used to be where you guys are in the whole Coach K thing. I've just learned to really respect greatness, at least on the court. And it's hard to deny that of the Tom Brady's, the Coach K's. Think of who else is hated, but Tiger Woods. It's hard to deny that. I've watched almost every game. I'm a huge UNC fan. My brother's a Duke fan, so we are watching the game together this Saturday. Now, Devin, I have to ask, though, are you more of an Auburn fan or a UNC fan? We got issues. I'm kidding. But I got to know these things. These are the things that I want to know. Like these dual fanships, they're just a foreign concept to me, but they are like more and more prevalent. At least people are more vocal about them these days. For instance, my brothers have like 5 fan bases because they've gone to school somewhere else and they went to graduate school and one of them now works for another university. So I'm like, so you're switching colors again. This is who you're going to be rooting for. So it's just fun to mess with people sometimes about that. But I get that, you know, it's hard if you have like historical ties to another team. But I'd be interested to know, Devin, which one you fall more in line with. SEC basketball looks like it will be fun to watch with the new talent coming. So I did a video today kind of talking about just this past year. I hope you guys will go watch that if you haven't. And the question I posed was, who is the best, you know, of 2021-22? And I think it's hard to really answer that question. That's kind of the result I got to in the video. I made cases, pros and cons, for the 4 top teams that I think all have a case. Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, and Kentucky. You can probably drop Kentucky out of that conversation for this year because of various things I broke down in there. But the other 3, they all have a case. And I lean more that Arkansas and Tennessee's cases are a little bit stronger, but you still can't eliminate Auburn completely from that discussion because of how dominant they were early on and maintained enough to win out in the SEC. But yes, that talent that's coming in, the problem is now that there's a vacuum that's been created with LSU, right? With this whole Will Wade situation. All that talent that they've usually amassed there is now going to be spread out to the corners, hopefully to Auburn. But, you know, there is going to be a little bit of that going on. Dusty, now let me put context for everybody. Dusty is a Tampa Bay fan. So there you go. Coach K ain't even close to Brady, not even close to greatness. Never forget, in the Bahamas, Jared dunked on Zion and they lost, and they shot 35 free throws to R7. That's true. I am going to respectfully disagree with you, sir. Coach K, and it's hard to compare them, right? 2 different sports and 2 different roles, a coach and a quarterback. They're both Hall of Famers. They both have won a significant amount of championships. And Coach K has been an Olympic head coach. It's hard. My case to you would be this. You all the time see, especially in basketball, it's hard for a college basketball coach to go be a pro coach. It's done very rarely. Billy Donovan tried it for a while. Who else? Hubert Davis, but I don't think he was a head coach at North Carolina now. It's really difficult. Coach K didn't do that, but he went to be the coach of the dream team. Now, you may say cushy job, right? You're getting the best of the best. What do you do? Just let him go play? But yeah. But that dude earned the respect of some of the biggest personalities and biggest, sometimes, egos of the NBA. That says something to me. Let's see. We got us an answer. Auburn for sure. My dad is an Auburn alum, so it's been Auburn since I was born. I became a UNC fan in high school. Understand? Everybody, tries, different things out during adolescence, seeing which fandoms they want to be a part of. But glad that you claim the orange and blue, not that powder blue stuff. Kyle, it would be nice to get Clint Richardson to do a live stream to discuss the trademark law. I got into a debate over Green Bay and UJ using the G logo. I'll talk to him. As I've always said, a lot of you guys enjoy Clint and Austin. They're probably our most frequent guests that we've had here. I've told them that they have free reign to come on here whenever they want to. So it's really just kind of whenever they have the itch to, or something to talk about. So I'll mention it to Clint and see if maybe he's lurking in the background right now. There's no baseball game on, so I don't know where he is. Let's see here. Tom Brady uses Tampa as a tax haven. Whoa. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. Hey, side subject here, since we brought up the NFL. This USFL thing that's starting in Birmingham, they're bringing it back. And I think they might have a way to make the spring football thing happen long term. Anybody else excited to see some Auburn Tigers that you don't normally get to see anymore? That's what I loved about the AAF, American Alliance of Football. Yes. And the XFL the last 2 springs is that I got to see those type of players again that we don't get to see anymore. And some of them were doing really well. People forget that in the XFL for the Dallas Renegades, Cameron Artis-Payne was coming on strong, and I mean strong. So that's something that I love about that, and I hope that they get it right. After Shed, who would be the number 2 right now? Dusty, I don't know if you were here, but we were discussing this when he asked me. Well, maybe you're just elaborating. It's a great question, and I don't have an answer for you. I mean, Javaris Johnson is the likely candidate because in terms of stats, he's got the second most probably. But really, it's anybody's game at this point. Who want JJ Evans is hurt right now, so he can't really figure that whole thing out. I think it's wide open, honestly, for some of these new guys, Camden Brown, Jay Fair, Omari Kelly, to make a name for themselves and be the rejuvenation of that wide receiver core. It's very much needed. And then Shed can kind of do what the Cody Burns figure does sorry, side tangent. Isn't it weird that we always have these like archetypes and Cody's now his like own thing and what that means? It's a respected archetype, but it's just weird when I think about it. I was actually thinking about this the other day and it kind of that sparked it back to me. Dusty, Tampa Bay caused Bo Jackson to lose his college scholarship. I forgot all about that. And yes, that is true. And I knew I never liked Tampa Bay. Here's the problem, though. There's some great Auburn players that are part of Tampa Bay's team right now. Unless, did Carlton Davis still there? Anyway, they did cause that. That's unfortunate. It's a really unfortunate situation there. But I digress. So as I've told you guys a lot of times, I don't get too overly invested in the in the NFL, but other than just following our Auburn Tigers that are in there. So what's everybody think about Jabari and Walker Kessler? What are your feelings? Do you think there's any window of an opportunity where Jabari doesn't go? From all accounts, Walker Kessler is very much considering coming back. I will tell you, based off of someone I talked to who claims to be a close family friend, that when I talked to him a couple weeks ago, that no, that wasn't the case. That he was going to the NBA as much as he did want to stay. There's 2 different stories here. There's a question of what does, and this, you can apply this to Jabari too. What does Walker Kessler need to do, and what does he want to do, and which of those wins out? Walker Kessler needs to go to the NFL or the NBA. He may want to come back to Auburn. Which of those wins out? I don't know that. I'm intrigued that it's taken this long. I'm also intrigued it's taken this long for Jabari, but really, they're not in any rush. I mean, Jabari knows he's putting himself in the draft to see what happens. So does Walker probably. It's not like they have to rush up and do that. Walker did just sign an NIL deal. That's a great point. It was with Dunkaroos, right? But he can do that now. It's not something that would necessarily, hold him here. He can, I'm sure that's more of a advertising opportunity for Dunkaroos with kids and associating him with it, being that cartoon type character, I think is what they drew with him. So all that to be said, I don't necessarily think that is a particular function of him staying, but any NIL deal that you can get here, help him get some money that he might potentially lose out on if he got hurt here, that certainly helps your case. For those that lament about the NIL deal, and I tend to be one of those sometimes, you better be thinking how much this can help you in terms of keeping talent here, getting talent here, and how it can benefit your programs. Everybody hates the one and done thing that's become more relevant in college basketball. This might be the thing that deters it. Hasn't happened yet, but all it's going to take is that one high profile athlete, that one high profile basketball player who's ready to be the number one pick, Jabari, just come out and say, I love this school too much to go away this soon. He may not mean that. He may just say, and I'm not, let's just player Joe. Let's take Jabari out of it. Let's take him out of it and just say player Joe comes out. He's going number one and says, I want to come back because I love this school too much. He means the NIL deal. But then that makes other players in similar situations think, okay, what do you got? And the conversations start. And then there you go. That's how that starts. But it takes that one player. NIL money could help solve the one and done mentality. Personally, I have no problem with the one and done mentality. If the NBA is going to really, that's the thing that people miss about all this stuff. Most of this is a decision, is a response to what the professional league that the college level feeds into does. They allow players to come out after their freshman year, or they allow them to come out of high school. So that's why that happens a lot. If they were like the NFL and said, no, you need 2 years at least, then we'd have a different story. But the NIL does help. Does it come a lot of evil and a lot of, shall we say, extracurricular activities with that? Yeah. You bet it does. It basically makes what was breaking the rules legal now, in terms of gathering up money to convince players to come, to put players to stay, to get them on campus. It's a whole nother world out there, and we have just barely scratched the surface of it. It was getting a little overwhelming when we first started the season last year, when that all came about. The amount of remember Bo was like, day one, I've got mine thing lined up. I'm like, dude, come on. Just wait 1 week before you announce the thing. But no, he's like, it also makes you wonder too. It didn't take Bo out of the equation. That happened for a lot of players. It's like, how long have y'all been having these discussions? And isn't that technically illegal then? But anyway, there's that. Week 3 of spring practice. We've talked about, the injury to Jarquez a little bit. You guys have asked, who am I going to be watching? Wide receivers, I definitely think, is the place that you want to watch, for me personally, at least. But I also wonder what other spots you guys might be interested in, players that you all might be interested in seeing. Post that right now, what you think. Back to some of y'all's points. Walker needs another year to get NBA ready, similar to Chuma. Jabari just being emotional because he knows he played bad and it cost us. I guess you're talking about considering coming back. Yeah, I guess that could be at play there. I don't agree that Walker needs another year. Would it benefit him as long as he stays healthy? Oh yeah. You get 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards in a row. You would be probably the number 1 pick yourself if they're looking for a center type next year. That's the thing, is you can be the best player overall, but if the team that's got the number 1 pick doesn't need your services in that area, then it doesn't really matter. You can still go top 3 probably and still get plenty of money. Chuma was a different case. He was that injury. I think if he doesn't get injured, we would all be saying he needs to go, because he had risen during the postseason like he had, and especially leading into that game. It became evident of what was happening. By the way, did anybody see that clip of Isaac Okoro going up against Chuma in a recent NBA game? Oh man, that was the fact that we're seeing Auburn players doing that to each other in the NBA is something that I never in my wildest dreams thought I would see. And I love the heck out of it. It was such a beautiful thing to see Auburn relevant in the NBA. So good. So good. I wonder how Saban's Mercedes dealership is doing now that there's a car shortage. I would imagine Nick Saban's doing just fine. But don't they risk getting hurt and then falling in the draft? Take the money when you can. Well, but and that's the thing. Would point we were trying to say earlier. The NIL deals that these type of players are getting are, I'm not going to say equivalent, but we're talking millions of dollars sometimes, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions. I think, does it take away the complete sting of if you hurt yourself? Yes. Or excuse me, no, but it certainly helps that a little bit. I would think that that is the biggest fear it's always been of players coming back. What if I get hurt and I lose this spot? That's why Jabari is probably not going to come back. 99.9% not going to come back. But Walker may be seeing a chance to do something special with this team and how much they could utilize his services and what that, if they bring in the right pieces. He's also looking at what that would mean for him being a number 1 overall pick. And I think and I think he likes being here, which is also something to think about. Flooding the NBA with the AU talent makes me happy. Oh gosh, it's so good. It is so good. It's the fact that we're consistently putting at least somebody in the draft every year is outstanding. By the way, I think Sharif Cooper changed his hair and I completely didn't even recognize him. I finally, I saw this picture of him and I looked at his face. I was like, oh, that is Sharif. But I wasn't ready for his hairstyle change. At least if that was him, I was pretty sure it was him. But he's there. Chuma, Isaac, Sharif, JT is somewhere in there. And then this year, Jabari, Jared Harper's in there too, he keeps getting these 2-way deals. He's now with the Pelicans, but yeah. Chuma went after getting hurt anyway. He sat out a year in the NBA because of it. I was saying Walker outside shooting needs to improve because teams will force him to shoot from deep in the NBA. That's true. It's true. Definitely areas he can get better. Katie Rhyme, freshman DB's player to watch. Oh, you mean, is it Katie Rhyme or is it JD Rhyme? I thought it was JD Rhyme. Am I wrong? Yes, I'm excited about him too. That's an area that's less like I shouldn't say I'm not worried about it because you're losing Roger McCreary and some other players too, but there's so much like talent there. I'm just excited to see who's going to be the next wave of guys here. JD Rhyme's one of those. It's the opportunities abound on the team this year, even at defensive back. It's a great point, Dusty. Kowalski, how good is this Chester guy that's supposed to be coming to Auburn? He's 6'10". I've been trying to keep all of these potential guys straight, so I haven't watched him particularly. Is this the LSU guy? Somebody clarify that for me. I don't know. Listen, we've seen 6'10", 7-footers come here before and be duds. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you know how to utilize it. Walker Kessler knows what to do with it. The biggest knock on Austin Wiley was his hands. He could be dominant when he wanted to if he could catch the ball. But Auburn is going to be losing Jabari and Walker some height down there. That's going to be their really big. I'm much less worried about how good are they than getting some height to supplement what we have here, because we might have to play as a little bit smaller of a team last year. But when you got guys like a Jalen Williams, you got a Dylan Cardwell down there who showed a lot of promise this year. There's a few pieces that we need to make that shored up a little bit. Katie Johnson. Dusty, I have a feeling that you've written Katie Johnson so much on Twitter and stuff that now, like, if you're watching on your phone, I can't remember if you are or not, has started auto-correcting to just Katie Johnson. There's so many Katies, JDs. It feels like these days they do get kind of lost in that. But back to your question, Kowalski. Yeah, I don't have any solid information on that. I haven't watched a lot of tape. I think, and I know this makes a lot of people frustrated with this channel. It's like we don't do a lot of that recruiting stuff. I'm thinking about ways we can do some more of that, but I focus more on when they get here or if they've committed. That's why we celebrated when the first offensive lineman, the first overall recruit, became part of the class for 2023. We'll do some more of those as they start recruiting. So if we pick up one of these LSU commits or decommits, we'll definitely do something about that. So that's the other angle of this too that we need to think about. You know, those guys are waiting on decisions from Walker Kessler and Jabari. So there's this dance that you're playing. Is like, do you want to ruin an opportunity where one of them decides maybe to come back to lose out on that? I don't know. We lament the NIL, we lament the transfer portal, but a lot of good comes with it too. A lot of good opportunities for the players, a lot of good opportunities for the coaches, the programs, a lot of good opportunities for us as fans. Brandon Frazier at wide receiver now. I like it. Big target. Is Brandon Frazier still here? Anyway, Landon King is one that I think of when you brought up that comment, Kowalski. I think Landon's got a lot of opportunity here to make himself be a slot wide receiver, tight end effectively, to come up under John Samuel Shanker's wing and really show that he's going to take those reins going forward after this. But yes, big targets are a need right now at Auburn. Does anybody remember the days that were just lovely when we had, I'm going to roll some names off here to you: Devin Aromashadu, Ben Obumanu, Anthony Mix, Courtney Taylor, Cooper Wallace. That group, before that, Jarris McIntyre and Tim Carter in the mix. Like, I'm missing those days where we're looking back on those groups finally. Hopefully that's coming very soon. Great. I was wondering when someone was going to finally pick this up. Yes, Kyle, why is there a pick of Bear Bryant on your shelf? Okay. Great question. I can't detach myself to bring it over to you. I mean, I could, but it would just mess things up. And I'm wearing pants, but it wouldn't look good. All right. So that is from an antique shop that my brother, no. They cleaned out, I think, a relative's house of my in-laws and found that. And somehow I got it and my brother-in-law didn't get it. It is unfortunately, you can see Bear better than you can Shug, but that is a Bear and a Shug TV tray plate, I guess is what you'd call it, but it's commemorative. It's got a date on it. It's actually really nice. It's old, but it's nice. Now, behind me, you can kind of see it. That's another Auburn, Alabama thing. It's the Prayer Warriors picture. It's my late father's favorite picture. He told me that I get that, or I got that whenever, not just because he passed away, but so that's like my prized possession right there. And it's got Alabama in it, as much as we hate each other on the field and out the field. We still are interconnected, and so I don't mind having pieces like that. But good eye. We had a guy named Trooper Taylor. Wish we could get another slot receiver like Ryan Davis. Wasn't that a great connection, Kowalski? The Ryan Davis, Jarrett Stidham thing is now part of history, and that was an incredible thing to watch. I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone tonight, on the way home from work. My phone autocorrected a lot to Auburn. Have some recruiting ideas for the channel, but I've just been real busy. Get you to your thing. Awesome. Yeah, just take your time, buddy. I know you've said a lot. You had some things you wanted to shoot at me, but we'll discuss them whenever you have some time too. It's the great thing about things. And when I say they quiet down, I feel like that's somewhat of a disrespect to the spring sports. And I don't mean it that way, but it's understandably so sometimes. All right, we got our first caller in. It's one of our regulars. It looks like he's got his headband on too. So let's bring him in here. Live from the gym. Kevin, what is up?
Well, Eagle, I think our football team will have good season this year. You think?
I would say I think they will have a pretty good season. I'm comfortable saying that, but I guess that depends on what you think a good season is. What do you think? What do you think is a good season, Kevin?
Yeah, I think we can go like 13-0, maybe.
Oh, all right. Well, you heard it here first. I would say that would be a bit of a shock. Yeah. Auburn does tend to do their best when people don't think that they're going to do much. So you do have that in your corner, sir. I would still say that that's a bit of a step out. But hey, listen, I love the optimism. Why do you think that? Why do you think 13-0?
Because the quarterbacks are running backs.
Yeah, quarterback and running backs. Well,
Yeah.
I would say the running back is definitely in your favor in that discussion. Quarterbacks need to get figured out before that. So who do you think's in the lead for the quarterback race right now?
Robbie Ashford.
Robbie Ashford. Well,
Yeah.
he has risen up in terms of how much he's being talked about, and I think even I've decided to start treating him
Yeah.
more as a legitimate candidate. But I will differ from you, and I think still Zach Calzada and mainly TJ Finley are in the lead. Would you be okay if they were the starting quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
would be cool to see a Robbie Ashford do it too.
Yeah. I'm moving to Mobile this Saturday.
You are okay. Where are you moving from?
From Navarre, Florida
Navarre.
to
uh,
Wilmer, Alabama.
Okay, so Mobile, but the Mobile area. Well, that's Bama country, so good luck with that.
Yeah.
A lot of Bammers down there, so
Yeah.
just make sure you color it up a little bit with orange and blue.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. Thanks for calling in tonight. Thanks for calling in from the gym too.
War Eagle.
War Eagle, buddy.
Ah.
Bye. Always good to hear from Corey. There he is. What's up? It's like everybody starts arriving now. Good to see you, buddy. Devin saw a tweet asking what our record would be. Someone said 12-0 until we aren't. Not gonna lie, I prefer that mentality to some of those negative Nancy's saying 3-9. I don't get the. I've yet to find someone that can look at an Auburn team in the last modern era and legitimately make a case that they're going to go 3-9 and say X and Y. Now, I would say this year there's less solidified, so you would have probably the best case to make that type of mentality situation. But I agree. I've never understood that. I think at best, or I think at minimum, you should expect Auburn to go 7-5 every year, because of they typically will do well in their non-conference, and they're usually going to get a group of 3 or 4 in like Ole Miss, Mississippi State. No, they didn't do that this year, but Auburn is a good enough program to year in and year out be at minimum 7-5. Last year was not great, but that was a transition year. Kowalski, I hope that Sean Jackson gets his opportunity at running back. Reminds me of Petway. I haven't watched enough tape of him yet, but I've heard about how big he plays. It was weird because Petway came on so strong in that one season and then he was gone. And I wish he had been able to stay. I think he would have benefited from that, but we had a really good stable building when he was here. But that's a good comparison. So if he can capture that magic, that'll set him up really well. Devin, maybe you can explain where the negativity is coming from. Is it because of transfers or what? Oh, wow. That's a very deep and convoluted question, Devin. That's a philosophical conversation I feel like we could talk about forever. My easiest answer and most all-encompassing answer is just remember that you're seeing this all on social media. I very rarely are you having people actually say those things and from their mouths, not from their fingers. People love reactionary stuff. They want the likes, they want the retweets, that's what we crave, right? So sometimes everyone's trying to be the next gotcha guy, the next or I got you guy or girl. And that's really what this is about. This is about, can I be that edgy person that, gets the reactions and stuff like that. That's really all this is, I gave a novel idea. I'm going to say Auburn's going 3-9. If they go 3-9, then yeah, you were right. But I choose to believe that my team has shown the ability year in and year out to be at least 7-5 or 8-4. It's an old thing. It's people sometimes want to infect others with the negativity that they have in their life is really all it amounts to. Had to work the old grindstone late today. Corey, I'm glad that you got here to stop by, though. AU could easily have won 9 games last season. Yes. Mississippi State is definitely in that category. Houston's in that category. Really, the only games that were out of reach by the end of it was Texas A&M and Georgia. I mean, really, that's it. Now, Alabama was in their grasp. The team was a lot better than they showed, and that's on them. That's on the coaching. But they weren't a terrible team. Were they a great team? No. They were. They would have finished the games. But that was a team that had a lot of potential. You could make a case that right now we go 4-8. Okay. Well, you're saying all the non-conference. Well, that's actually, you're saying Penn State. If I'm reading you right there, you're saying the 3 would gimmies and then the Penn State loss, and then probably, is it Vanderbilt we have or Missouri? Yeah. Yeah, Dusty. I will tell you, Dusty, I will be cutting off a few minutes early tonight from 9 o'clock. So if you are wanting to call in, and I would say that for everybody, if you are wanting to call in, get in now while you can, because I will have to be done right at 9 or kind of right before. We won't cut us off like right there. We'll finish up what we're talking about. Big Simp in the house. Well, hello. We'll go 12-1. Only loss is Georgia in my way too early prediction. You and Kevin are right up there together. love the enthusiasm. I love the optimism. Where the negativity starts, the boosters. It's not all about the boosters, as much as we want it to be. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure the whole negative thing is such a big convoluted. It's not one thing, but a lot of it is social media and people misbehaving because they don't think there's any consequences. I guess you said past Auburn players that didn't get drafted are playing in the spring summer football league. We talked about that a little bit earlier, Corey. We're excited about that. We get to see that. Tut is on New Jersey's team. I need to go look at that's a video I should have done. Have they announced all the teams yet? I need to go look and see what Auburn teams are there. Auburn players are there. Wow. If Auburn goes 3-9, General Sherman needs to crawl out of his grave and burn Auburn's campus to the ground. Please don't. I love that campus. Please don't. Kowalski, been hearing good things about the baseball team as well. One of the exciting things, Kowalski, and we are doing some post-series live streams. Usually we're playing with it right now. I know some of you were taken aback by I did it on a Sunday this week. I'll be honest with you, since he brought it up here. I'll use it as a little segue. I'm playing with either Sunday or Monday night. So I did a poll earlier. Which night would you all want to have a big overarching discussion about baseball and softball, kind of like a post game, but it'll be a post series show, but it'll be a weekly show. Most of you said Monday, but there was enough people that said Sunday too that I wanted to kind of give it a shot. They both got about the same response. So the good thing is that Sundays, there's rarely ever anything competing with it. Sunday evenings, and then Monday evenings, sometimes like this time, you're going to have a championship game. So we're debating that. But anyway, baseball offensively is very exciting to watch. As Dusty brought up earlier, they're a little bit subject with early pitching, and that gets them in some holes that they have to fight out of, which is probably why their offense is so good. Let's see here. I saw a painting of Sean Shivers knocking that Bammer player's helmet off. Oh, the painting, you must have been to one of those Tiger Pride, Bama Fever, was it? Yeah, stores or something similar to that. College Spirit stores where you see those all the time. That's a great picture, isn't it? That is a really great picture. Would be good back there. I have been debating, and I'll tell you, my originally over here, you can kind of cut right here, these pictures right here. There's 3 of them. You can only see really 2. Was to switch out these every year or every season and have like football, volleyball, soccer, men's basketball, women's basketball, gymnastics, and then like baseball, softball, equestrian, or whatever. But I never got around to doing that. That's really old pictures right there. How's softball doing? Haven't seen anything in a while. Doing really well. A lot of people, they were in, I think they're right behind Alabama for the league lead right now. They were in the lead, but they took a shocking series loss to Kentucky when they had it in their hands. They dominated Alabama State tonight, doing very well right now. That's the great thing, is both the softball and the baseball teams are showing high potential right now. So I'd recommend that you follow them if you haven't. First game for the Knockoff NFL League is April 16th. Tickets, $10. Kids are free. Lovely stadium, must see. Yes, Big Sim, I can attest to that stadium was really cool after being in it for the bowl game. Was not ready for the level of attendance. You can tell they don't get that many that it can fill up to come to the UAB games, because there was some people movement issues that they were not prepared for. But it's a pretty stadium. And I would highly encourage you guys, if you want something like this to succeed, you're going to have to support it, go to it, watch it on TV when it's on there, talk about it. You know, they need to see the numbers to keep doing this type of thing. And I would love it. I have enjoyed the attempts the last 2 springs of the AAF and the XFL. And I thought the XFL was going to make it again. Supposedly they're going to keep trying. Hopefully the USFL, which is the only other league that's had sustained success in terms of being a secondary league, will figure it out again. Linda says, terrible stadium. Linda, why? Why is it a terrible stadium? I think it's beautiful. I just think it gets overly crowded. I saw the clubber we have. But didn't catch her name. Bree Ellis. I think she has 400 homers now. She has 12 as of tonight. She had another one out in like dead center, hit the TV crew. It is, you know, Auburn softball has actually been celebrating a lot of their history this year. And when people ask about, you know, Auburn football, obviously you instantly ask, well, who do you think of? Cam Newton, Bo Jackson, Pat Sullivan, Tracy Rocker, Takeo Spikes, you know, all those names. But you think of softball, there's really only one name that people think of. If you do that, it's Casey Cooper. And a lot of people are comparing her to that. And it's a fair comparison based off of how many home runs that she's doing right now. It's one of those years that I would go watch simply because I know there's an opportunity for offense. But yeah. All right. I am going to close down the phone lines for now, but thank you guys for taking the opportunity. Kevin called in tonight. Good to hear from you. I appreciate you guys being here. Last minute comments and questions. Get them in right now. I will take those in kind of rapid fire succession here. If you want to drop those in, a couple reminders for you. If you haven't, please check out some of the links in the description. One of those things that you can do is be a channel member. It's simple as hitting the join button. You got to link a card up, yes, but $1 a month, you get little icons next to your name. You get access to emojis. It's a little bit easier for me to see your comments live or not. So that's some of the perks that come with that. But if you want the real perks, there's also the Patreon Booster Club. I have a new member who just joined. Don't have your name right hand because it happened this evening, but thank you so much for that. We'll be announcing them with their permission very soon. So those are ways that you can help support here. The easiest thing that you can do, though, is smash the like button, is be here. Invite a friend. I want us to personally, I would love to see us break 3,000 subscribers this summer. If we could by football season, that would be a great goal for us to match. And it's gonna require your help. Invite someone to be here. Hit the like button. Leave a comment on the video. Believe it or not, it does. Even just saying War Eagle. Those are the big things that you can do to help this channel continue to grow and help the content to keep coming out, whether it's here or on our podcasts and stuff like that. But I appreciate all of you guys so much for being here. And I appreciate so many of you that are part of the Booster Club, that are channel members here. You guys make it happen here on this channel. Must be McGuire's daughter. Not really, but she's good. She's really good. The Jabari dunk needs a painting. Yes, it does. It's a beautiful thing, is it not? Linda answering my question to her about why it was a terrible stadium. Exactly. Hard to get out of. Concessions designed really strangely. Could have been an AU architect. Well, see, I tend to think Auburn architecture is pretty good. Or couldn't have been. Excuse me. I just read that. I think it actually was, if I remember correctly. Let me say this. I think the stadium was built to be able to house those events that are bigger, but understanding that UAB fans are never going to fill that up. in most years. So that's at play in that. Concessions, people movement, crowd management. It's just not built for that, but it is still beautiful, and it is at least have the capacity to do it. So there were some frustrating things that came with it. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. And like I said, check out some of those links in the description, invite a friend. And I hope to see you here again next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, so that we can hang out together. And make sure you are subscribed and have that notification bell hit so you don't miss any of the uploads that we have or the live streams that may come about. And stay tuned for a baseball live stream either Sunday or Monday night at 8 p.m. It'll be at 8 p.m. regardless of what day it is. But thank you guys so much for being here. Agree. War Eagle, you guys are the best. What time would the baseball stream be? I think you wrote that as I was saying at 8 p.m. regardless, either Sunday or Monday. I will try to give you guys as much notice as possible. Till we talk to you again, though, thank you guys for being the best little family within the Auburn family. Love you guys.